I think learning to fit sewing patterns and learning to fit our garments to our bodies is probably the hardest thing that we actually have to learn as beginner sewers. And I know when I started to take an approach and that I looked at it size and fit differently is when I started to see results and I could actually tackle the project, the hard task ahead of me. And so if you are a new sewer or you're beginning to start fitting clothes for the first time and you're really feeling overwhelmed by it, I think this video is for you and you'll find it really useful. My long-time viewers here, or my long-time sewing friends, will know that I run an online sewing school, vintagesewingschool.com, and every month we do new content. And this month, well actually recently I sort of asked the question to all of my members in what do you want to see next? What are you struggling with? What should we approach in the next 6 months? And overwhelmingly the response was fitting patterns and fitting clothes to my body, how to make those adjustments to the patterns. And so I've been planning content like crazy about that for the next 6 months, and this month is going live soon. So it's very top of mind for me, this subject of fitting patterns and fitting clothing to our bodies. And it is one of the hardest things that we come by. And so when I started to look at, I remember myself, the difference sort of between size and fit, and if it's a whole size or whole knot, it really comes down to picking the right starting size to begin with. Is when we fit, it really comes down to that, is the first port of call, is getting that starting size right to begin with. So this is really the approach that I took when I was learning how to fit garments and was sort of getting there. When I started to distinguish between my size, starting size at least when we use commercial patterns, this is this lady here. When we use commercial patterns, we first need to get the right starting size, because then we fit from there. So our size is the general size of the garment, right? This is up or down, scaling up or down in the same way. So everything scales. So all of your panel seams, all of your everything all scales up and down, and getting the closest size. Fit, on the other hand, is where we are close in our size, but then fitting is just shaping it, molding it to our individual body shape, in which we're all different, of course, and that's why this is a really hard topic to sort of wrap your brain around and to follow along and to learn from, because everybody's different. And so that's when I sort of looked at it, when I really focused, because often what I would do is make up a garment and go from that size, and just, this one on top is pretty good size. I think we're going to work from this one. Say I would make this up and you just either think, oh, it's like too big, it must be a size too big, let's take it down a size. Or you just start fitting this one and going from there, and sort of not really thinking about it in a way of, when I started thinking about it in, do I really have the correct starting size to fit and mold around that from there? When I started doing this, I saw much more success in my fitting, and it gave me more of a logical view, a better vision of where I needed to go and what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be in that beautiful fitting garment. So let me explain. So it's about getting the right starting size first. So often it could be, let's say you have, this is my toile here, this is what I have been practicing and doing all my lessons on for Vintage Sewing School. So she's got some, little markings already in here, and pin marks, lots of pin marks. We've transferred all those to the pattern already, so ignore all of those markings. But if we talk about the starting size on this one, it might be deceiving to think, wow, it's a whole size too big. Now remember, I have mentioned in some of my other videos, I think this one, that if you want to know what a whole size is in the pattern, have a look at the back of the envelope. It will tell you. So look at your size that you cut out, look at the size above or down, whichever way you're going, and see what the size difference is, even when they're just the body measurements they give you, because that should be the same reflection in the end garment, at least between the sizes, whether it's a whole size or not. A standard usually is 4.8 centimeters, or 2 inches is usually a standard size, but there's, check your pattern for your particular one. And so you can guess first, is this a whole size too big? You can hold it in and have a look. But if you notice something, like, yes, it's definitely a whole size too big up the top, but as we come down to the hips here, I can't actually grab in anymore. So it's really not an entire size too big, this whole dress. And there is where I would either choose to go with this size and then fit around, so mold and shape the bust area to fit the hips, or would I make a size smaller from the pattern so everything scales? So think about all these panel seams and everything. If they look really wide on you, this would be a good idea to go one size smaller so they're all slightly more scaled in. All of this area gets tighter, and then you could maybe just fit and adjust and add to the hips to let out. And so then you look at your skill level. So fitting all of these curved lines can be quite tricky. So maybe it is easier for you to go down the size, have all the bust and all these panel seams fit, and if you need to, tailor in. And this is where you can learn to combine two sizes of the patterns together. So you can have the smaller size up here and the bigger size in your hips that you need. The hips are a lot easier in a design like this, at least, to add to. And then it would be shaping and fitting from there. Does that make sense? I think you get what I mean. So often you just kind of get a bit deceived and you get carried away by fitting, pinning, taking here, taking there, taking this, taking that, and it just all becomes way too much because you just really needed to sort of stop, come back, look and think and assess it and think, do I need a better starting size to actually fit this more properly? And because why would we reinvent the wheel every time trying to make so many adjustments when they've already made all the adjustments for us and they very nicely put all those different sizes on those pattern pieces, so why not let's use those to our advantage? And so, as I said, learning to combine two sizes together, because we're all different shapes than the standard, whatever they have as a bust, a waist and a hip, we're all different and need a different combination of sizes and fit, and that's where you go from there. You can start looking at that, getting your start size, your best start size, and then look at fitting and shaping from that size there as your starting point. When I started to do that, as I said, that's when I really was able to kind of see and visualize, and it just made the whole process so much more streamlined and easier to achieve when I started looking at that and looking at just making one fit adjustment at a time, because when you do one thing, it affects the others. Or I should say, it affects so much more. For instance, if you lift this up and shorten your whole garment, where your waistline and hip line and bust line, it all changes. So when you do one alteration, it affects the rest. It has a snowball effect. So always do fit at one at a time. I have quite a number of other videos on fitting that you definitely want to check out. I have linked all of those down below in the description box. I think it will really help you to understand the fitting process and at least see where you need to go from here. Now, I would really love to hear from you. What are the fit issues that you are facing right now? Tell me all the challenges, and I just might make some more videos about those particular topics. Do check the description box below for all the links to those other videos that I know are really going to help you out. And so until next time, happy sewing and hopefully happy getting that perfect start size. Bye.